Thanks.
Hi, David. Sorry if this doesn't work. Bear with us.
We're doing the NFL podcast.
No.
Back
this is not the NFL background.
Abby Tooley.
This is the just like the bland template background because
there we go.
There was not a show requirement one for two, but welcome to the show requirement, a Harry Potter podcast, exclusively everywhere, just all over the place. Man, it is a day to record, isn't it, Abby?
Very much so.
Yeah. I think I made my tag something else, but I think I could have made it Spencer Price, the guy who doesn't know how to use the video recording software for the podcast. So listeners, viewers, welcome back. Thank you for bearing with us. I'm also wearing some lovely pink Beats today because left my AirPods in my office.
They look gold in the video, so you look
They're
fine.
A little rose gold, yeah.
No?
I guess they're more rose gold than just straight up pink. Anyway, Abby, what are we doing today? What are we doing?
We're covering most of the Harry Potter content in the timeline.
Small stuff. Small potatoes. Yeah. So,
the Wizarding Wars. Fun times. Actually,
also,
dark.
David is not with us. He got tied up in some things. Yeah. That's obvious. I shouldn't have to say that. But we are not. There are three of us.
Yep.
Clifford was looking at Abby, but now he's.
Hi, buddy. I know he can't hear me, but
Clifford. Hi. Sorry for bugging you.
His little ear went. Whoosh.
Yeah, we call him Yoda sometimes because he's good ears. Anyway, he likes hanging out in here with me. I should let him do it more often because he's very good. He's a very sweet boy. Abby, did you see my post on Instagram, by the way?
I don't know that I did.
This episode is dedicated to someone that was very special to me. My childhood dog, Teddy, passed away last night.
Oh, okay. I think I saw a picture of a dog, but didn't have time to read.
Yeah, we got him when I was 11 years old, which was a really, really long time ago. He lived to be about 17. We don't know how old he was when we got him, but it was time. It was time, but he was a real big sweetie. Anyway, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the third part of the Wizarding World timeline. We're finishing it. This is the last one. Thank God, because I like doing timelines, but 3 episodes of timelines, it's chunky. It's a big mission. It's a big undertaking, I should say. And so we're going to finish it today. And I don't remember, we don't have David here to say what's canon and what's not, but you can't leave. You decided to stay here. Abby, could you explain to the best of your remembering what the canon tiers were?
Yeah. She says with unsurety in her face.
There's 3. There's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's 3 tiers. First tier would be any of the books, the original books written by J.K. Rowling. Right, we decided that. Oh, she who must not be named.
And any
I'm banned from the podcast
as well. Yep.
Yeah, and each screenplay. Then tier 2 is all of the movies, including, Fantastic Beasts. The books, right?
So tier 1's books, screenplays, and the story.
Oh yeah, that's the screenplay.
And the story of Cursed Child.
Yes.
Not the screenplay, not the book, not the play, just the bland old story. So
We've gone over this so many times you think I'd have it memorized.
Me too. So we're going to talk about Cursed Child today, which is why I want to bring this up. I haven't put anything on this timeline as officially tier 1 Cursed Child. Not because it's not, just because we don't know what's considered the story and what's Jack Thorne's written screenplay, what the differences are there. So it's officially tier 2. It's ingrained in here. I'm going to make mention of it. Also, in this part of the timeline, tier 3 includes the actual play versions of them, like the musical and the non-musical. Those aren't on here because we have the screenplay.
Right.
But there will be some distinctions I make between the book and the movies, because some scenes are in one and some scenes are just in the movies. Rare occurrences. There's like 2.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and then to finish it out, tier 3 is like video
everything
games.
Else. Like Hogwarts Legacy's tier 3.
Tier 3.
Quidditch.
Hogwarts Mysteries.
World Cup, Hogwarts Mysteries. Okay.
I don't remember where you put Hogwarts Mystery. Was that?
It is tier 3.
That
but you just reminded me of the fact that I did not include it.
It's
because
fine.
you're just gonna. I want you to just put your foot down and go. And when we hit the 1980s and go, hey, this is where Hogwarts Mystery, Hogwarts Murder Mystery. This is where it takes place. I know it's not Murder Mystery, but I like saying it.
Right. Yeah.
So unlike the first 2, where we kind of just say events, this one's going to have some times where I specifically will say the title. For listeners, I'm going to use hand motions. For viewers, but for the listeners, I'm going to say the title of the thing. When I say the title of the thing, it means we have specifically experienced that scene or that moment. So this is the first time where I've done one that's books and movies in timelines. And so that's why I'm using the word experience rather than just we've seen it happen.
Right.
That is why it's being mentioned. Anyway, we ended last one, the Fantastic Beasts / Hogwarts Legacy into the Fantastic Beasts era. That one ends with 1945 because Dumbledore fights Grindelwald in a movie that we'll never see, but it did happen in the canon.
Saturday.
It's all good. So we're going to pick it up in the late 1940s. There's like 2 things. Are you ready, Abby? Because I'm just going to fly.
I'm so ready. Yep.
Okay.
Let's go.
In 1947, we know from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I'm guessing a re-release, that Newt Scamander helps create the Werewolf Registry. Kind of like an Animagi registry. Cool. Nice. Important thing. I'm not going to mention every single thing. I don't have written every single thing, just the important stuff. 1947 is the prior believed time that Minerva McGonagall starts working at Hogwarts. I'm sorry. I'm bringing it up. I'd put it in italics for a reason. That is.
We had a whole conversation with her episode when that happened. If you want to know more about that, go back and listen to the Minerva McGonagall character study that I hosted.
Yes, because there's she's either 80 or 130 in Cursed Child or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. Yep. Because they decided to she must not be named. Decided to retcon her into Crimes of Grindelwald and Secrets of Dumbledore because she wanted to. And that messed up a lot of things. But it's all great. It's all good. And it's all good. Anyway, same year, Bathilda Bagshot's A History of Magic is published, which is what we titled the first part of this timeline series. It's great. 1949. So there's these creatures in the U.S. It's a mythological, it's a real American thing they believed existed, like Bigfoot. It was 1600s Bigfoot. It's called a snallygaster. So, of course, it exists in the real wizarding world, because why not? So, in 1949, the Snallygaster Protection League is founded in Maryland, mostly to protect the animals, but also they don't have any qualms about messing with muggles / no mages. So, a lot of the league was obliviating no mages that had the misfortune of encountering a Snallygaster.
Man, Snallygaster Protection League. Say that 3 times fast.
I cannot.
What a mouthful.
I said it once successfully, and I'm proud of myself. I'm going to take that win and keep moving forward. Anyway, great stuff, kicking off with some really important things. So 1950s, 1950/1951, Arthur Weasley, Bellatrix Black, later Lestrange, and Rita Skeeter are all born around that time. There's specific dates if
One
you want
of
to look
those
it up,
characters
listeners.
is really important. The other ones, meh.
Excuse me. Arthur Weasley's important. Anyway,
That's what I
kept
said. There's one
Oh.
important character in there, and it's Arthur Weasley. The other two, whatever.
Bellatrix Lestrange is not important.
She's important. I just don't like her.
Yeah,
But
I agree with that. Love Helena Bonham Carter.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's specific dates, listeners. You can look it up if you want to. This is the year. So 1952, Quidditch Through the Ages is published, the Wizard edition. More on that later. In the 1953 to 55 region, Andromeda Black, Lucius Malfoy, and Narcissa Black are all born. Good stuff.
Yep.
Clifford wants to leave, so he's going to leave us. But he was great for the first few minutes, you know? He's coming into his own as a dog podcaster. Anyway, so 1955, this is funky. Minerva McGonagall starts working for the Ministry of Magic. So she's either leaving like 8 to 10 years of teaching, or she's leaving like 40 years of teaching.
Who knows?
Take your pick. Anyway, she left to Hogwarts for a little bit to work for the Ministry of Magic. A year later, she didn't like it. Turned down a promotion, and then she sent an owl to Hogwarts to see if they were hiring, and then she began teaching again the next year. Great stuff.
It's like a young Earth, old Earth. We have the Earth that we have. We have the Minerva McGonagall that we have, but we just don't know where it all started.
I never thought that was going to come up on this podcast.
There we go.
You know, the important thing is that McGonagall was there in the
Yes.
important parts. How old she does. It's impolite to ask a woman her age, I think is what I said
fair.
last time. So
Yeah.
that is what we're doing this time. So this is the first thing we have, a scene that we experienced. This is around 1956. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Big surprise, because last episode we had a bunch of this. Tom Riddle doing terrible things. Keeping it PG, folks. After swooning Hepzibah Smith for many years, Tom Riddle kills her and takes the Hufflepuff Cup. Afterwards, Tom disappears until 1967, so for about 11 years. So somewhere in that time period, he goes to Albania and recovers the Ravenclaw's diadem, which was buried there like a bajillion years earlier. But he learns about where it is because of the Great Lady ghost. You'd think the Bloody Baron would have told him.
No.
Anyway, I digress. Moving into the 1960s, the Marauders era kind of starting to kick off. I have official kind of more starting point later, but the Marauders, Lily, Severus, they're all born. Regulus Black was born a year later in 61. Also in 1961, Arthur Weasley begins at Hogwarts. So he's like a solid 10 years older than the Marauders. That's just a helpful thing to remember. Bellatrix started a year later in 62. This is kind of the unofficial / official kind of kicking point to the Marauders era, is when Remus becomes a werewolf in 1965. He's 5 years old. So he was bitten by Fenrir Greyback, which is significant werewolf, in retaliation to Lionel Lupin, his father's anti-werewolf comments in the Ministry of Magic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also in 1965, the ban on experimental breeding is passed. Great stuff. Probably due to, in part, to Newt Scamander's efforts. But bless you. It is unconfirmed, though. Also, Lucius Malfoy starts at Hogwarts. Boo, I say. Boo. Very important. So Albus Dumbledore becomes headmaster of Hogwarts in 1966. In 1967, Tom Riddle, who's pretty much Voldemort at this point, he visits Dumbledore to ostensibly ask for the Defense Against the Dark Arts job. Dumbledore refuses, obviously, and Tom does what he actually came to do, which was hiding the diadem in the Room of Requirement, in the place where everything is hidden, as it's called.
I don't think I knew, and maybe I did, and I just totally forgot, because that's totally possible too. But I forgot that Tom asked Dumbledore for the Defense Against the Dark Arts job.
He did, and he's like barely human at this point.
And it's kind of like the gall of this guy.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, 1960, and you can pretty much see the scene. So I probably should have said that's in Half Blood Prince. I think the book. I just always forget about it because it's kind of a
Yeah,
small,
I
pensive
forget about
trip.
it.
It's not a huge part of the book, and it's not in the movie at all.
Hmm.
All right, so I don't know how I feel about this being a thing, but She Must Not Be Named has said it was a thing. In 1968 and 1967, coinciding with the civil rights movement, there was also a squib rights movement, and there were pure blood riots. Great, why not?
Hmm.
Um,
No.
anyway, the minister for magic at the time was the first Muggle-born minister for magic, whose name was Nobby Leach. Anyway, they resigned due to illness, and people think it wasn't like there was some kind of like fake illness or like conspiring, or she was poisoned by Abraxas Malfoy is the likely person, and that's Lucius's father. I'm 90% sure. Anyway, Jenkins takes over as minister, and it's a mess. She picks up a mess. That takes us to the 1970s, which Lord Voldemort officially rises to power. He and his Death Eaters begin Voldemort's reign of terror, marked by strange disappearances, and that takes us into the First Wizarding War officially. Also in 1970, Arthur and Molly elope. Like many people, they got married, but they were like, we didn't get married because of that. Like we were destined for each other, which is cute. But they also got married for that. Bill was born a year later, furthering my theory that wizards don't use contraception. Anyway, 1970, we'll never know. Correct. 1971, the Whomping Willow is planted at Hogwarts because Remus Lupin starts at Hogwarts, along with Peter, James, Sirius, Lily, and Severus. So a bunch of other people. So get this, Abby. So 1971, Remus Lupin starts at Hogwarts. 1973, Nymphadora Tonks is born.
That's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. He's always
the whole thing.
He's like, I'm so much older than you.
Yep.
You shouldn't
rob the cradle. Me. So this is just, I don't put birth dates very often, but this one is something. So 1974, the Marauders finally achieved becoming Animagi. And somewhere around 1975, Mundungus Fletcher is banned from the Hog's Head, which is why he's dressed up as a lady in Order of the Phoenix. Not really a lady, I guess, but he's in like a cloak and a dress and all these things.
Right.
As he does. Somewhere around 1975, the Marauders map is written and enchanted. Also in 1975, unable to deal with the rising threat of Voldemort and his Death Eaters, Jenkins, the person that took over earlier, resigns as Minister for Magic. Harold Mincham, a much stronger leader, takes over as the next minister. Think like he's the scrimmager of the 70s, basically. Yeah. Remus becomes a prefect that year in their 5th year at Hogwarts, and Gilderoy Lockhart starts his first year at Hogwarts and is sorted into Ravenclaw. Much to his chagrin, he is not already famous when he's 11 years old starting at Hogwarts. Hilarious. All right. So this is experienced through Severus Snape's memories in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix book and movie. James and Sirius publicly humiliate Severus Snape in front of a bunch of students by the Black Lake at Hogwarts. In 1977, James and Sirius encounter 2 Muggle police officers messing around. This is before their 7th year at Hogwarts, so they're probably on Sirius's motorbike. James and Lily are made Gryffindor head boy and head girl. So I just put that in because James has come a real long way in not that much time. In 1978, just after they left Hogwarts, Petunia Evans marries Vernon Dursley. James and Lily attend, but things do not go well. That's mentioned, but I can't remember what book it was mentioned in.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Petunia brings it up, or Marge brings it up. 1979, Commander is awarded the Order of Merlin 2nd class for his lifelong contributions to Magizoology. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
terrible time in history to receive this award. It's like literally the darkest part of the war, but because literally in the same year is when Regulus Black tries to leave the Death Eaters and is killed, not before discovering Voldemort's secret of the Horcruxes. Or, as he thought, probably one Horcrux.
Mm-hmm.
James and Lily also got married in 79, and the famous Order of the Phoenix photograph is taken. With many of the people died like right after that photograph. So, 1980s. A bunch of people are born. Hermione, Harry, and Ron are born in 1980, but Hermione specifically was born in 79. So she was born in September. Mm-hmm. So many other characters are born. I will not name all of them. Use your imagination, Harry Potter fans. You know who's in that class of Hogwarts, okay? It's the one you'd know the best. Dean Thomas. Other people. Neville Longbottom. Boom.
Yep.
Also, Pettigrew becomes an informant for Voldemort, and Igor Karkaroff is captured all around this time. Rosier and Wilkes are killed by Aurors. So at some point when it got really bad, they said, okay, Aurors can now kill people. Great. Good stuff. Anyway, they're killed by Aurors, one of which being Mad-Eye Moody. Took a bit of me with him, didn't he? So in the books, it's a part of his nose because he's missing part of it. And then in the movie, it's his eye, which I think that was probably better.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
What's his name? Domhnall Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson should have his full nose. I'm glad they didn't do that to him.
Me too.
So, 1981, for Harry's first birthday, Sirius gets him a toy broomstick. That's seen in a picture in like Prisoner of Azkaban, I think.
Also, with the nose thing, we already got Voldemort and he didn't have a nose.
Ooh,
so,
amen. Except in the behind the scenes. Ralph Fiennes has a nose.
He does.
You should look that up if you haven't.
I have.
I'm also pointing to the listeners. You should look that up. It's really funny. I shared it on the Instagram one time. There's a photo with Ralph Fiennes, all white with his nose, and he's hugging with Dumbledore's actor and Dan Radcliffe, and it's really hilarious because it's after like the most emotional, darkest scene of Lord of the Phoenix. They're all like, and that just makes me happy inside.
You gotta have fun on a hard day.
Well, it's just like that inside look of these like dark, serious movies or whatever. They're not that serious in the behind the scenes, So we see this as well. So in 81, in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, again through Snape's memories, Severus Snape approaches Dumbledore to warn him of the Potters being in danger. And we missed it. Abby, you missed it.
No. It's coming.
I thought it was in the 80s.
84. I was going to wait until 84.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Oh, you're right. It is after. I missed it. I'm too early. Something I forgot to mention is the scenes in Snape's memories. It's in like 65-ish when Lily and Severus grew up together. I didn't forget.
Oh, I think we're thinking about different things.
I know we're thinking about different things. I'm thinking about two different things at the same time. I don't have ADHD. You have ADHD. Anyway, so Snape warns Dumbledore about the Potters being in danger on the windy hilltop. He's like, don't kill me. Dumbledore's like, I'm going to kill you. Later in the year, the Fidelius charm is produced with Peter Pettigrew as their secret keeper. In the next 6 days, Pettigrew gives up his secret. So this is the scene. We've all seen it. We all know what we're going to get to. It is shown 3 different times or experienced 3 different times. So we've heard it in Harry's memories in Prisoner of Azkaban. We have seen it in Deathly Hallows through Snape's memory, but also like Voldemort's memories at some point, probably too. And then we also experienced it in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So I'll get the Cursed Child in a second. So it's October 31st, 1981. Voldemort approaches the house, kills James and Lily Potter, and loses his body in an attempt to kill Harry. Many believing Voldemort dead and the war being over, Harry Potter is celebrated as the boy who lived. As a part of the killing curse gone wrong, a part of Voldemort's soul splits and attaches itself to Harry, making him a Horcrux. Spoilers
Wow.
for something that came out almost 20 years ago. In The Cursed Child, Albius Scorpius meet up with Harry, Hermione, Draco, and Ginny in Godric's Hollow to attempt to stop Delphine from saving her father, Voldemort. They succeed, and to maintain the timeline as it is, they have to allow Voldemort to kill Lily and James, Harry's parents, again, and lose his body again to save Harry, which was a tough scene, you know?
Yeah.
Second tier, though. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The next day, November 1st, Hagrid delivers Harry to Privet Drive. This is not in the movie, but around that same time, Peter Pettigrew fakes his own death, pinning his crimes on Sirius. 1982, there's going to be some gap here, and Abby's preparing herself for another thing that's tier 3. 1982, Minerva McGonagall marries Elphinstone Urquhart.
What a name.
They live in a cottage in Hogsmeade so she can easily travel to work. No big deal, getting married at 100 years old at David Gonzalez. Circa 1982, the Longbottoms are tortured to insanity by Death Eaters, Bellatrix, Rodolphus, Lestrange, and others. Also, around a little bit later in the year, after being caught, Barty Crouch Jr. is rescued from Azkaban, his mother taking his place. 1983, Nymphadora begins at Hogwarts, being sorted into Hufflepuff House.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And then I didn't write these down. I don't think they're worth mentioning. You've read the series. If you haven't, go do it. A bunch of Dudley's birthdays are mentioned in the first few books.
And all his presents.
Presents and horrible things happening to Harry in his childhood happen in the 80s. That's all there is to mention. So you can read about them later if you want to, listeners.
Yeah. And then 1984. This is when we get Hogwarts Mystery. And that entire storyline, which I have yet to maybe even make it halfway through.
Is it only in that school year?
No, it's not. So you go through different years. You start in year 1. So I imagine it goes all the way up.
So year 1 is 84, 85?
Yeah. I think so.
Which would end, so it would end when Harry starts at Hogwarts, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. Great stuff.
It's a little gap filler.
All right.
Some story.
We're in the 90s. We're pretty much almost done. Not really. So a lot happens in the 90s in the Harry Potter universe. Or if you're watching the movies, it might be the 2000s because that's when they were filmed. And they decided not to make... Some of them are a timeline, like... They follow the timeline better, but some of them don't. And that's okay. Just think about the books. So in 1990, because it's 3 years before they give it to Harry, this is when Fred and George discover the Marauders map. Also in 1990, Cornelius Fudge becomes Minister for Magic. Boo.
Boo.
In June 1991, Nymphadora begins Auror training after graduating from Hogwarts.
What a woman.
So the rest of this is just going to be basically date ranges. So circa June 20th, 1991 to June 20th, 1992 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Or
the whole story. We're not going
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Yep, not the whole story. If it doesn't take place in those dates, I will mention it. Harry Potter, also the Flamels die after that. But there's no date for that. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, July 31st, 1992 to June-ish of 1993, the end of the school year. A lot of these begin on Harry's birthday, but not all of them. So, July 31st, 1993 to June 7th of 1994, some stuff has happened in Harry's memory. He mentions them. Or she must not be named, mentions them happening in June and July. But like Harry's thinking about those in past tense. So the beefy bits, the part where it really gets going, is of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban take place in that time space. In 1994, Tonks becomes an Auror. Bertha Jorkins, that is something I cannot say 5 times fast. Bertha Jorkins.
Yep. Bertha Jorkins. Bertha Jorkins. Bertha Jorkins.
Yep. She's killed by Voldemort. Assumably, Voldemort uses this murder to create the Horcrux inside Nagini. Although I don't think that's 100% confirmed. So he made Horcruxes the whole time. When I was first reading it, I was thinking, oh, he made all of them way back when. But no, he's still doing it. Great. Also, Oliver Wood joins Puddlemere United's reserve team. And I don't know why I decided to include that, but there it is. So, July 31st, Harry's birthday, 1994, to June 24th, 1995, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire takes place. Along with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the three times, Albus and Scorpius attempt to stop Cedric Diggory from winning the Triwizard Tournament. And then I think they help him win it again to fix the timeline. Can't remember. Something like that.
Yeah.
So, July 1995, Bill takes a desk job in London to better serve the re-established Order of the Phoenix as they were established in Goblet of Fire. So, Harry's birthday, 1995, July 31st to June 21st of 1996, is when Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix take place. And, of course, the end of that is the official kickoff of the Second Wizarding War, although it's kind of been going on for a year already. So sometime in July of 1996, this is weird. In the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince movie, we see Ollivander captured by the Death Eaters. But in the book, it's just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince book and movie in July 1996, the Unbreakable Vow happens with Severus and Narcissa Malfoy at Spinner's End. Also in this time period, not seen, not experienced, Dumbledore tries on Marvolo's ring, the Slytherin ring, beginning the curse that would inevitably kill him if he didn't get murdered. And then either before or after he tried on the ring, he also destroyed the Horcrux within the ring with the Sword of Gryffindor. July 1st, 1996, Fudge resigns as Minister of Magic.
About time.
Shocker to no one. And then July 4th, 1996, is when the Half-Blood Prince book begins, with Fudge visiting the Prime Minister of England to inform him that Voldemort has indeed returned and introduces him to the new Minister of Magic, Rufus Scrimgeour. This is the book version. The movie one decides to wait a year for no reason. So, July 12th of 1996, that's when Dumbledore comes to pick up Harry. To July 3rd of 1997 is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So it begins with Dumbledore's visit to the Dursleys to pick up Harry, and it ends with Harry, Ron, and Hermione walking the coast of the Black Lake after Dumbledore's funeral. This is the part of the timeline where Spencer cries the most.
Mm-hmm.
Almost there. July 21st, 1997 to May 2nd, my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. Of 1998. I was 2 months old at that time. Anyway, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows takes place. But in March 1998 is David's favorite part of the timeline when Delphine Lestrange is born.
Oh my gosh,
Lestrange.
Delphine Lestrange would be the same age as me because I was born in March of 1998.
Yeah, so was I. We had the same birthday as...
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Voldemort's child.
Fun.
Is there like Destiny's Child, like a band or something?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Why didn't she start a band? She could have just been a good guy and started a band. Voldemort's child. Delphine's the main character, the main singer. The band is called Voldemort's Child. So stupid joke. Anyways, it's movie time, kids, because They did 2 movies. I
That they
didn't
did.
put any differences. We can talk about that on another date. But July 21st, 1997, same time as the book begins, to March of 1998 is Deathly Hallows Part 1, the movie. March 1998 to May 2nd, 1998 is all of Deathly Hallows Part 2. That movie's pretty much like a month.
A lot
It is
happens.
a lot happens, but it's also only like 30% of the book.
Fair.
Anyway, May of 1998, after Voldemort's defeated, Kingsley Shacklebolt becomes Minister for Magic. And now we're going into the early 2000s. Spoiler alert, there's not much. A bunch of people are born, and that's about it. So in the early 2000s, in his tenure as minister, Kingsley actually removes the Dementors from Azkaban.
What a man.
What a man. In March 2001, the Muggle edition of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is published, as well as the Muggle edition of Quidditch Through the Ages. And that might be
Love
my
that.
favorite thing from this timeline. So if you go and read those books, listeners, the opener is talking about post-publishing the Muggle edition and how some people were mad about it. And Dumbledore writes the foreword to, I think, both of them, but definitely Quidditch
Definitely
Through the
Fantastic
Ages.
Beasts. Okay, so
Maybe both of them. Yeah. So anyway, I love that. It's canon. It's not just canon. It's tier 1 canon. 2007 is when Harry became head of the Auror department. Also in this time period is when Hermione becomes Minister for Magic. Probably in the 2010s, though.
Yeah.
2015 is when James Sirius Potter begins at Hogwarts. He is sorted into Gryffindor, much to Teddy Lupin's dismay, as Teddy Lupin was head boy of Hufflepuff. 2017 is the last scene we see from the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Epilogue. We see Albus Severus Potter, Scorpius Malfoy, and Rose Weasley begin their Hogwarts journeys, boarding the Hogwarts Express. Also, around this time period, Ron passes the Muggle driving test, as we learned from Cursed Child. And then September 1st of 2017 to April of 2021 is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the stuff that takes place in the present. It starts with the opening scene, like the epilogue is the opening scene of Cursed Child. Most of the movie takes place a few years later in 2020, like August to September. Now, August to October of 2020. And then it ends in October, but then there's some discussions. A couple things happen in like April of 2021. So also in October of 2020, the alternate universe is created in Cursed Child when Scorpius comes out of the lake from the second task in the present. But he comes back and it's the alternate future where Voldemort won, Harry's dead, and Hermione and Ron are what remain of the Resistance alongside Severus Snape. So I didn't know how to include that because it's like a range for Cursed Child. But anyway, so long story short, the end currently of the timeline is the final scenes of Cursed Child in April of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And that, folks, is the Harry Potter Wizarding World timeline in its entirety. And
there we go.
We have covered it. We have done it.
We did it.
Any final thoughts, Abby?
You know, I just continue to be amazed at how much world building there was for this fandom, for this for this story. Like, they came up with so much material before the books and then continuing through the books. I was after the books, but Cursed Child is kind of still a continuation of.
Also, the only other thing I didn't include is the Harry Potter lexicon was my main source for this timeline. So shout out to them, although I did disagree with them at some points. So not necessarily headcanon, but just more logical canon.
Right.
But they had about 3 million Wizard of the Months that were published on Pottermore from like 2002 to like 2009. And I'd included none of those. There was a bunch of Quidditch matches I did not include. There was a 7-day one that I did not include that I almost did. But this is the majority. This is the meaty bits, the good stuff. I think there's a lot. I mean, this is the best part about this is where we can look at what could be done.
For sure.
Like and I think that 2000 to maybe 2005 to 2017 part of the timeline, wide open. It's open season, kids. Just make something. Doesn't have to be big. Doesn't even have to have a main character. I will settle for anything. I mean, you could also do the 60s, 70s, or like the 50s and 60s. Like, you don't have to do... I think it doesn't have to be large scale.
Although I would still like to see the Marauders happen.
Yeah, I mean, of course I want to see the Marauders happen. Yeah. That's the biggest opportunity. I feel like if they wanted to print money, that's what they would do. But also, they probably can't.
Yeah.
I think it's She Must Not Be Named, just holding us back from a lot of things, both by her decision making and also her behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's not her saying no to something, it's because they don't want to make anything with her because people will go against it and stuff. So,
yeah.
I don't want to get too much on that.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It's a tough spot to be in for the Wizarding world, but I don't know what's next on the podcast. It's probably it's high time I should figure that out.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I know which episode is next because I looked at it today. Do you want me to say?
Please do.
I'm pretty sure it is our next House Cup episode. We're talking about Slytherin.
Hopefully. If it's Ravenclaw, something happened. Not that you Slytherins are going to be neglected. Just depends on who we can find that's available next week.
Yes.
That's the key. Well, we have a Slytherin person. So I don't know why we wouldn't do Slytherin.
We have at least one. We threw around some different ideas.
We definitely have.
We have a person that we could pull in for Slytherin.
Yes.
And you have someone you could maybe talk into doing Ravenclaw.
Two.
But
one of them,
whether or not we want to pull in like different sources.
We'll see. We'll just have to see. We don't want to do it because we're not in those houses.
Right.
Abby and I are both Hufflepuffs, and then David is Gryffindor. So anyway, if you have some thoughts you'd like us to share for those episodes, if you're one of those houses, we'd love for you to get in touch with us. If nothing else, just to send some stuff for the rep to get to include in the episode. So
definitely.
Thank you so much for listening. Bearing with us on the Wizarding World timeline. And on behalf of Abby and myself and David in the editing room, Mischief Managed.